What's up, guys? This is Burn the Breeze first podcast episode 1, and we're really excited because we have Dan Millice on the show. Dan is a Grammy award-winning New York City-based mastering engineer. He's worked on 17 Grammy-nominated projects. He's worked with massive artists, including A$AP Rocky, Dolly Parton, Sia. He does a ton of indie acts as well, including yours truly, Burn the Breeze. And today we discuss in the box versus analog gear, meticulous art of mastering to vinyl, his distinct approach of serving the song, where he actually builds a custom template out for mastering for each song that he works on. We also go into his new educational mixing platform and community called Gain Stage, which I'm really excited to join. So without further ado, let's get into it. Boom. Okay. We're on. Dan Millice.
We're rolling. Nice.
Yeah. Welcome to Burn the Breeze's first podcast. What a great first guest to have. And we're excited that you're here.
And thank you. Thank you guys for having me. I'm honored to be here, and I'm excited to chat with you guys.
Yeah, absolutely. So today I'm thinking we could talk about some of the things our community wanted to talk about that had questions for you. And then as well as my own questions. Like I think we're going to cover in the box versus analog today. We're going to go over AI in music. We're going to go over your mentality as far as serving the song goes with mastering. So this is something I think people that are just generally interested in mixing and mastering can get something from, but also, professionals or people that are just like a little bit more curious about your background and your story. And that kind of gets me into my first question was like, how did you discover mastering? Why did you go down that route to begin with?
For sure. And thank you for having me on. I really appreciate this opportunity. So I grew up playing in bands, and, what I tell everybody, I sort of had the same dream of, playing lead guitar on a, in a big rock band, like, as everybody else, just playing in bands in high school with buddies. And, I kind of gravitated a little more toward the technical side. I really enjoyed, going to the, buying CD and, wrestling with the cellophane to get the cellophane off of it. And then like opening the thing and reading the, where did they record, who produced it, the liner notes, and, I was always fascinated by that. And I, just the idea that could be someone's job is, I was like, well, that's what I want to do. I want to be in the liner notes and, work in music and work on records. And, so, I went to Appalachian State University.
Okay.
They have an incredible music program there, the Hayes School of Music. Highly recommend to anyone that wants to go to, a 4-year university. I mean, it's a great school. But I went to the Hayes School of Music at App State, and they have actually a program that teaches you recording and music production. And so that was my major, was music industry studies with an emphasis in recording and music production. And so that was sort of my like intro to working in a recording studio.
What year was that?
That was 2006. Yeah.
2006. Okay.
I started in 2006. I graduated in 2010.
Okay.
And I mean, I had a blast. It was I went to that's where I went to college. It was like the time of my life, and like, I don't want to go too off topic. I had so much fun there, but that was my first opportunity to, record bands, learn how microphones work, learn how a real console works, and routing, and signal flow, and gain staging, and just recording techniques. How do you record an orchestra? How do you record a jazz combo? How do you record a rock band? How do you record on analog tape? How do you record in Pro Tools? How do you edit in Pro Tools? So that was my introduction into the production world. And
so you showed up in a hybrid world, correct?
Yeah, absolutely. And we did projects to analog tape, and we did projects into the computer using Pro Tools. They really emphasize Pro Tools just because that really is the industry standard in terms of, if you're going to get placed into the real world, if you're going to move to New York City and become a recording engineer, you need to know Pro Tools. Now I'm pretty sure they teach it all, because there are so many different DAWs out there, and they definitely don't discriminate or anything, but Pro Tools was what we learned. And that was really my intro, and that was how I got my base foundation and knowledge. And after college, the program required you to go out into the real world and get an internship. So it was required. It was the final semester.
That's smart.
Yeah. So my senior summer semester was, I moved to New York City and I got an internship, and the studio that I was able to get my internship at was a highly prestigious mastering studio called Masterdisk.
Cool.
And not to like come on here and name drop, but like, Masterdisk did Bruce Springsteen, Born to Run, Born in the USA, like, all the Jay-Z albums. Cool. Led Zeppelin, Aerosmith. Like, I just, it was just, plaques everywhere. I've got some plaques in here, but like this place is like plaques everywhere. It's very impressive to go, from Boone, North Carolina,
right,
to Manhattan, mastering house.
Oh yeah.
And that was kind of where I started, and I started at the bottom. I took the trash out. I cleaned the bathrooms. If somebody needed something, I was the go get it, This was before mobile deposits. So my memory was like, I went to the bank multiple times a day to like deposit the checks. We burned CDs still. This was 2010. And so, we would burn CDs and send out CDs and to the clients. So I was like, I literally would do anything just to get into the room with these engineers. And I did my homework before I got there. I learned what their resumes were, and I knew what records they had done, and it was just so impressive. So I would just jump at the chance to rub shoulders with these legendary mastering engineers.
At that point, before you went there, were you thinking that I'm going to be a mixer or I'm going to be a masterer, or what, did you have any idea,
right.
or was it just luck that you landed on this spot?
Yeah, I applied to internships at some other studios, and my goal was to get in where I fit in. I had the intention of being a record producer or a mixer.
Mm-hmm.
And that was kind of what I envisioned. And Masterdisk took me. And so I just jumped in fully and with open arms because it was such an incredible opportunity. And so, no, I didn't exactly have that as my, dream as a kid. I didn't grow up like I really want to get into mastering.
Right.
I just love music and love sound and love working behind the scenes on stuff. Mm-hmm. And at this time I knew I didn't have the guitar chops to blow anyone away. Right. You know what I mean? Sure. So I was like, all right, if I want to do this, I'm gonna be like more behind the scenes, more technical. And that was where I ended up getting in. Now that was a huge blessing because I absolutely, watching these engineers work and seeing how dedicated they were and how, the phrase that I heard a lot there was perfect is close enough, which is like really intense, but like these engineers were serious and they were going for perfection on the mastering side. And I really thought that was cool and was fascinated and drawn into it. And so I was like, let's do it. I love this. Let's master. Let's do mastering. And, eventually over time, when you kind of prove you're reliable and can be trusted and all that, and that you're not going to like screw anything up, eventually you get to, after the internship, it kind of evolves into being an assistant, being an after hours engineer, being like the indie mastering engineer that, does the smaller bands. Sure. You're not going to get a Bruce Springsteen, or a Sting album.
Yes.
But right. They'll be doing a Sting album from, 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. And then, that top engineer goes home, and then that's when the shift really starts. So, you're there in the morning, like cleaning, getting people coffee, doing a little errands and blah, 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 keeping the place running, making things as easy as possible for them so they can focus. Then after hours, it's clock in and learn how this gear works, and train your ears. And, a cool thing that they would allow me to do was they would have, a finished master, and they would have a mix that was unmastered. Oh. And they wouldn't give me the session notes, but they would just say like, here's your project for the evening is make this song sound like the finished master. And that was an incredible way to learn. So if you're ever, if anyone in your community is like learning how to do mastering, that is a great way to do it, because, it kind of, it helps you learn the gear or the plugins or whatever, the software, it also helps you train your ear and kind of learn what a finished master sounds like and should sound like. And it was extremely hard at first. And then eventually you start to, okay, there's a little more low end, there's a little less low end, there's a little saturation, it's a little louder. Okay, how do I get it there? And you're like, learning it. So it was a great place to be introduced to the mastering world and the process and the business. How do you charge for mastering? How do you deliver a final master? How do you do revisions? How do you charge for, it's the business itself and the craft. So, that was really amazing that Appalachian State required you to go out and do something like that. And it really, there is no job vacancy there. These studios in New York are not like now hiring a new mastering engineer.
We need 12 new mastering engineers this year.
Anybody want this?
It's rare to get into something like that. And the industry, it feels like it's kind of getting smaller a little bit.
100%. And it's like you kind of create your position. And so what I learned really quickly is in order to climb the ladder, you need to go out and get clients. You need to go and find bands and bring them to the studio.
Right.
You're essentially like, not only do you have to learn the craft, you sort of have to be a salesman, without being salesy.
Yes.
And so I'm in New York City. I'm 21 years old. What am I doing on the weekends? I'm going out to Rockwood Music Hall, Pianos, Arlene's Grocery. The list is endless up there. I mean, there's so many venues to go see bands and clubs. So I would just talk to bands after their set that I liked, that I was interested in, and be like, hey guys, you don't know me. My name's Dan. I work at this studio. I'd love to show you the place sometime. And that kind of became how I started. My first album credits are all just like my friends from App. Like all those bands, and App had so many awesome bands, and they still do. But like, it's a great community up there. But I would, how many of those can you do? You can master every band in Boone, North Carolina. Like, then what are you gonna do? So I just made it my goal was to just bring as many bands in as possible and just kind of like build my client base that way. And, over the span of the last 16 years, I mean, I'm still doing that. The business model hasn't changed. It's like, I still go out. I still go see bands. I still am trying to find cool bands to work with. And, I've just been doing that nonstop ever since then.
And I think that's good for people to know too, that like mixing and mastering engineers, I mean, they're not untouchable people.
Right.
Just because Dan has won, or you've got a lot of Grammys and records on the wall behind you, are nominated for a lot of Grammys. Yeah. You one or two albums has won one, right?
I've got one winner.
Let's go. It's
which
sick.
is
I think I read on the 16, there was like a ton of Grammys that you were nominated for. But like, I feel like younger bands see something like that and say like, oh, like I can't, I can't contact that guy.
sure.
You know what I mean? Like, oh,
Yeah.
that's not for me. That's like another league of person. But like, I mean, that's not the case at all. The first guy that when we did my first EP that I made with the Northerners, we had a bunch of money from playing these frat gigs and stuff.
Yeah.
And I'm gonna forget the guy's name, Greg Calby.
Yeah. Legendary.
Just contacted the thing, and he was like, "I'll put it on my schedule," and that was
Did
it.
you guys?
And he
Oh,
did
that's
he did our
awesome.
EP.
Yeah, that's awesome.
And I was like,
That's
oh, okay. Like you can work with it. He did. I think he did Walls and Bridges and Graceland and a bunch of
oh,
like
he's
like
an
huge
absolute
albums.
legend.
Right.
I would want to have my album mastered by him. Like he is such a legend.
So that's just I
Yeah.
just want to put that out there because like I want people who are watching this, you know,
Right.
and if you think Dan's a good fit for you as far as music goes, like you can contact Dan. It's not
Oh man, thank you.
and he does a ton of our music too. So I can give
Thanks,
him
man.
my thumbs up, and you're really easy to work with. So that's a big part of this as well. Is not just I feel like getting the final product, but then having someone you have a good working with relationship with is really important on my end as far as the artist is concerned.
Man, thank you. You know, what I have observed is you can't just be good at EQing or compression or making something sound loud without being squashed or over compressed. That you can't just be that. Like you also, it's all about service. You know, it's all about service and you know, treating people well and being responsive and you know, I mean, to use us as an example, it's like if you send me a text, I might not respond right away, but if
Sure.
if I'm with if I'm in
We all got lives.
session,
Yeah, for
yeah,
sure.
like if I'm in a session or whatever, but I respond pretty quick.
Hmm.
And if there's an action needed, I'm pretty quick on that too. And, you know, that is just crucially important on the service side. You're providing a service. You're not just, it's not just like a product or a deliverable. It's how do you get there and the process itself. And like you share the process leading up to the mastering. You know, you tell me about like, hey, you know, we wrote this song here and was the process of recording it, and then we took the tracks and we ran it through a console
Right.
and it was a Neve and like
Yes, that's right.
you know, like that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And that helps me provide a better service, you know, and you're like, I mean, this is just I'm just pulling because we did a song together yesterday, but it's like, hey, and I really want the choruses to jump out of the speakers. Like, I really want a contrast, and I don't want it to be squashed, and I want it to be dynamic, and you know, all of that communication is crucially important for me to know what your vision is. You know, and that's what I'm doing here. It's not just like what does Dan's taste buds prefer. It's you know, in this case, what is Burn the Breeze want? You know, it's not what I want.
Sure.
It does help like when our tastes are pretty aligned. I think we have very similar musical tastes, and that helps, you know. I do like, I'm really lucky I get to do all sorts of genres of music, but like it helps. I grew up on rock and roll, You know what I mean? And we just have a good rapport and a good vibe. So communication is crucial, and I really try to like provide the best service, you know, and like be responsive and not leave anybody hanging, you know. I don't ever want like someone to be like, hey, I emailed you 4 days ago, did you get my email?
Right.
I reply like the same day or the next morning, you know. It's important.
It is important. Yeah. Especially, customer service is extremely important. That's interesting because you got the education at Masterdisk on the mastering and the business side. And I'm sure as far as the customer service, you got to see firsthand people actually coming in the studio. Right? A lot of time. I mean, sometimes mastering not as much as mixing, but
nowadays it's less, you know. And I'm no longer there just for people keeping score, but you know, I did see a lot of clients come in the doors and see how they treated them, and it was like a 5-star hotel. You know, it's like, and that's what I was doing as the intern. Like, that's the first thing you learn. You know, they don't.
That's
you don't just go to New York. You know, if you get an internship at Electric Lady, you know, or something, some incredible. Because I kind of put Masterdisk up there, or Sterling Sound. That's where Greg Calvi is.
Right.
You know, they don't just let the interns in the studio on day 2.
Right.
You're
not operating the compressor or whatever.
No, you're not even listening to anything. So you're just, but it's like the client walks in and you're like, hold the door and like, can I get you anything? Okay, I'm on it. You know, what's the lunch order? Get it right. You know, that kind of stuff to kind of prove that you are reliable. But what you're learning is the service. I worked at another studio, and the owner literally used to manage a hotel, and that was invaluable to me to just, you know, really like see how to treat the clients. And I mean, I'm from the South. Like I hold door anyway, you know. I'm a yes sir, no sir. In New York, people are a little, you know, we're, you know, almost like offended by yes ma'am. You know, it's I've actually had to kind of reel it in. But
I'm sure.
But you know, that's just my normal. You know, that's my normal. I'm from North Carolina. Like, we hold the door, you know, and that's not odd to me at all. But you know, and I imagine, you know, a lot of my classmates went to Nashville, and I think they probably you know, transitioned pretty normally there as well.
Sure.
But yeah, no, it's all about customer service, and you need to be good at what you do as well. You know, you need to make good sounding records.
Yep.
You know, it needs to, you know, and it has to be in the vision of the band you're working with or the artist you're working with. And I've been super lucky to get to work with, you know, all the people that I've been working with. And I think another thing that I love about
a few.
Oh,
I know you can't name all the artists. I know you're going to leave somebody out, but just so they have an idea.
I mean, you know, I have a song with Dolly Parton that got nominated for a Grammy. You know, I've worked with, some incredible jazz musicians, Lakeisha Benjamin, Terri Carrington, a lot of Candid Records artists.
Cool.
You know, I mean, one of my first big breaks in New York, I was just the next engineer in line, and the the chief engineer at the studio I was working at that day went on vacation, and the artist was A$AP Rocky. And I had never heard of A$AP Rocky, because it was, I mean, the year it was like 2011, and I thought it was actually a different artist. You know, I misheard the name. I think I labeled the session wrong, and I did the first A$AP Rocky album mixtape, and he blew up like overnight. It was like the biggest mixtape that year. And then now now he's a household, my mom knows who he is, you know, it's like, so, putting yourself in a position to be the next guy in line is also, I couldn't, no disrespect to my hometown or anything, but it's like, that opportunity doesn't really present itself if I would have moved back to Charlotte after college.
Right.
So, I would always encourage people to swing for the fences and follow their dreams, and, in my case, mastering the business of mastering, it really is based in New York City and LA and Nashville.
Right.
And so if you're like, my dream is to be a mastering engineer, probably wouldn't hurt you to go and intern at one of those facilities, just to learn the business and put yourself out there. But yeah, no, I mean, I've worked with a lot of incredible artists, and then there's a lot of like indie bands. I don't, I would be afraid to even name them because I don't want to miss any, but like there's this band called The Rumble down in New Orleans that I think is like the best band down there.
Sweet.
Shoot, I mean, I met you in Richmond. There's tons of bands in Richmond. I work with a ton of bands in Cleveland, Ohio. I work with a lot of bands from Asheville. Cool. There are like so many incredible artists that aren't just based in New York. I do a lot of Brooklyn bands. I mean, I'm based in Brooklyn. Like, I do a ton of New York bands, but there's like some incredible bands in Boston, Massachusetts. Right. There are like bands all over the LA, obviously. I mean, but yeah, like I just love music, and I love like being someone's trusted ear, second set of ears. Like, you send me a mix and I check it, and I might tell you like, hey, could we de-ess the vocal a little more? Yeah. It maybe is a little too sibilant, or like, dude, turn the guitar solo up. Like, I want you to hit me with that thing, like, right. And like, that is fun. That's what I do every day is like, listen to people's mixes, maybe give them a couple tips how to make it, emotionally impact more. Yep. And then print the mix and send it to me 24-bit, and I'll, and let me take it home. That's my job. So it's like it's so fun.
It is so cool.
Yeah, it's incredible.
That brings I've got two questions that are going to be sort of related. So something I'm curious about as someone that mixes our band, I'm always curious about, I guess, what mastering can do and what it can't, and like the way that I communicate with you, like I'm always unsure of if I'm doing that part correctly to get the best result from the mastering engineer. So like, what do you want to hear? Like, ideally a mixer sends you something, like ideally what are you looking for from them? Like the tone, do you care that they printed it through a Neve or tape emulation, or what is like what's ideal for you to be like, I know exactly what to do on this?
Yeah, I mean, first off, I think a lot of people are like chasing perfection,
Mm-hmm.
and so I always try to, first of all, I have like I'm fresh on the song. I've never heard the song.
Right.
How many times have you listened to the song?
100.
From its conception to the recording,
Yeah.
how many overdubs, how many edits, how many mix revisions?
300
thousands
times.
of times maybe, right?
Right.
So your perspective is just like you're so close to
Too
it.
close.
And that's why it's really easy to like, encourage someone to like find a mastering engineer that they like and vibe with and like build a rapport with and like learn what each other tastes are and stuff like that. I listen when I'm actually doing the mastering, I'm not listening like a mixer does. I'm listening to the big picture, Mm-hmm. My job is to make the mix translate.
Yeah.
So, like, I want it to sound good on an iPhone.
Yep.
I mean, as dumb as that sounds, like, and the iPhone speaker is not a great reference speaker. I want it to sound good in the car. Yeah. I want it to sound good. Obviously, I want it to sound good on a good system, and I test it on great speakers and on great headphones. But like almost arguably more importantly, I'm trying to get the mix to translate on all speakers, and so if there are like maybe phase issues or frequency buildups because of overlapping, the guitar, maybe there's like a stack of 8 guitars playing at the same time. I mean, unless you are like the surgeon of all, there's going to be a buildup in the low mids, if the drums were recorded in a warehouse,
sure,
with a bunch of spaced microphones versus in a small room with a bunch of close it's like the drums are just going to respond differently. And I kind of just at this point know what that can sound like and what maybe it should sound like, without like interjecting too much taste into my personal taste into it. But basically like being able to kind of give the mixer or like collaborate with the band or the producer or the mixer, whoever it is, and just kind of like find what their vision is and like, can they get there with what they have? And like, if there's a problem, I tend to flag it pretty quickly just because it doesn't, it doesn't serve anyone to like, well, maybe this will, if I'm pretty sure,
I could buff this out.
Maybe this freak thing will just work, I'll flag it. I'm a lot of mastering is quality checking, or, if you hear anybody talk about QC, it's QC. Okay. So you're just like, I'm QCing all the time. I'm just listening. If I hear like a digital tick or a bad edit, it could be a bad edit. It could be just an anomaly. Like it could be a clocking issue. It could be a weird, something's out of phase. I mean, I just sent someone an email like 10 minutes ago about, something is out of phase. I don't know what it is, but something is out of phase.
Yes.
And it's something stereo. So I'm guessing it's either the overheads or the guitars that are panned out, or maybe it's an effects return. Maybe they have a stereo reverb in their mix. And like, I don't have access to the mix. I can't turn the vocal up or turn the vocal down.
Yeah.
I can't mute anything. So there are like a lot of limitations, obviously.
Yes.
But to kind of circumvent that and collaborate with the mixer, I offer this to anyone I work with. It's like, send me the mix. Like, it's all good. Even if it's not done, you're like, well,
Right.
I haven't finished the automation. Like, that's okay. We're not mastering it today.
Yeah.
Just send it to me, and I'll at least like give you the confidence to stay the path. Like, you're on the right track. This is the energy, the momentum. It's all going. I'm getting the goosebumps on my arm. Like, keep going. Don't change this.
Sure.
Finish what you're doing. Or like, oh, this is super muddy and the vocal's too loud, or the vocal's not loud enough, or maybe it's just not loud enough in the second verse, but it's perfect in the first. I'm very, that's what I'm listening for, is just helping mixers make the best mix they can make for that song. I'm not going for perfect.
Right.
I'm not going for like, oh, I mean, what even is that? Like, it's totally subjective. So
yes,
I'm just like taking into consideration what I know about the artist, what I know about what they've shared with me. And I'm trying to like put myself in their shoes, knowing what I know about sound and how it's going to translate on, a pair of NS10s or in the iPhone or whatever. And just like, okay, this is not going to work, or this is working. Keep going, finish this thing, and then we will master. And that, I think, has been a very valuable kind of added value that I don't want to speak for all mastering engineers, but I think like the best ones do that, like they work in collaboration with, they're not just like, stamping the same stamp on everything. And that's why that's why my philosophy or my approach, as we've discussed before, is serve the song. It's just, each song is its own unique thing. I have never done the same processing to any of Burn the Breeze's songs. Every single song that I've mastered for you guys, I start with nothing. I start from complete scratch. I don't know if I've used the same limiter. I don't know if I've used the same EQ. I damn sure have never done the same boost or cut or whatever, because this song's in the key of C and this song's in the key of E flat, and this one's in 3/4 and the BPM's 110, and this one's in 4/4 and the BPM's 150. It just every song is, and you recorded it over here and then you recorded this one there, and it doesn't matter what necessarily you did, but I'm gonna like respond to what I hear. So I just listen to it flat with nothing. And when it comes to like the actual mastering, I start every song from scratch. There's no template. There's no chain. There's not like, I mean, obviously I have my preferences of stuff. And I know, like historically on hip hop songs, I like these limiters, and on rock songs, I like these limiters because they just work better. I'm not talking about like blindly just picking out stuff and throwing it against the wall. I mean, I'm experienced. But in terms of like, a lot of people have asked what my chain is, and I can't answer it because I'm like, what song? Which song? And if the song has 12, I mean, if there's a 12 song album, there's 12 different chains. In fact, there might be more than 12 chains because I might do a different chain for the choruses than I do for the verses. And I might capture the whole song with one chain and capture the whole song with the other chain and comp them.
Oh.
Because like certain, maybe the chorus is hitting a different way or needs a different kind of process.
Instrument might show up or
exactly
something like that.
Exactly. Yeah. So, it's super fun. It's super fun. And
that's so cool. I didn't think about that.
Yeah.
Interesting.
I mean, a lot of people don't really consider mastering like the most creative part of the production, and they're not wrong. I mean, I'm not in there in the live room with you guys, like, with headphones on, like, yeah, let's add some tambourine. Like,
yeah,
that's kind of what I maybe envisioned when I was back at App State and like still playing guitar in bands and like singing. I mean, I used to sing, dude, like
let's go.
I was in there. Like I used to do all that. But mastering actually is super creative. And, I'm just responding. I'm collaborating with a lot of musicians and I'm just responding to what comes out of the speakers and what moves me and how can I get their vision to translate on, get it to sound good on the radio, get it to sound good in the car, get it to sound good on the phone.
Yes, this is actually brings me to a question from one of our people on the in the comments when I posted about this, doing this interview. He said he was asking, do you need to create different masters for each streaming platform? Would the average person to be able to tell the difference between the streaming platforms and the raw file?
So, one thing that's good to know going into this is like each streaming platform does process the master uniquely. So, and it's totally crazy and very frustrating. and by the time you get used to what they're doing, they'll change, and they won't tell you. They'll just change, the algorithm or whatever. Spotify does a different thing than Apple. Tidal does a different thing. Like, there's all these different platforms. YouTube is a different thing.
So are you shooting to like, okay, well, it's going to like Spotify is whatever, minus 14, Apple, I don't know, is minus 18 or whatever it is. Are you trying to shoot in the middle to get them to sound good on everything? Or are you actually going to be printing a different master? For some artists, maybe they print a different master. I don't know.
Yeah. I do not print different masters for each streaming platform just because it's just too much, it's just too, that is like a very scary undertaking to envision. I mean, I'm like thinking about it right now, just shivering. No, this is what I tell everybody. And I'm glad, the member asked that. Basically like, what we're talking about is the streaming platforms do this thing called volume normalization, right? And the goal is, to have all the songs kind of the same loudness, so you could like make a crazy playlist and have like a rock, an Aerosmith song, and then play next to a Sheryl Crow song or something, and like not like have this
so your head doesn't blow off.
Volume difference. Yeah. Or maybe a better example, like Miles Davis, and then like Guns N' Roses comes on, it's like, I'm just all over the place. And like, and like to a certain extent, that does work, but what happens is, if you slam a master, and what I mean by that is like making something super loud, it's going to turn that master down. And you would think like, well, maybe like if we undershot it, it would turn it up. The reality is it doesn't sound good.
Yeah.
Like there have been tons of tests and scientific presentations on this at the Audio Engineering Society. People have tested this. And the other part of this discussion is the loudness normalization or volume normalization or whatever platform you're on. They call it different thing. I'm more of an Apple guy. So I'm, volume normalization, sound check, like whatever. Mm-hmm. I turn that off. Like I actually don't listen with that on. And I've found that most people don't have that turned on. And if it is on, they don't even know it's on. Right. If I have clients that sometimes have it on that don't know it's on, and they're like, damn, like mine is, a click less loud now that it's out. And I'm like, well, is normalization turned on? And they're like, yeah. And I'm like, disable it. Check it now. And they're like, oh, dude, I'm competitively loud or whatever,
Yes.
I hate to use that word, but
yes,
that it is what it is. And it's also very based on like the production, the arrangement, is there space in the song even for, so anyways, without going too off topic, what I do is I make the best sounding master I can make that is going to not get turned down a ton if volume normalization is turned on, because I don't have any power over whether you listen with it on or off. Yes. Like I'm just lucky if people even know that is a thing and that they can make that decision themselves. But I definitely can't like make you turn it off.
Right.
So I try to do kind of a best of both worlds. Like this is going to sound loud and not squashed with it turned off. And if it happens to be on, they might knock it down a little, but because I didn't slam it super hard,
right,
it's not going to sound, because what happens if you turn it in like totally bricked out, like it's like the loudest master of all time, they're gonna turn it down and it's gonna sound like this big instead of this big, know. And so what I'm doing is I'm turning it in, and it's not going, if it gets turned down, maybe it's like getting turned down a little. So it's still nice and loud. And I've had a lot of success with that.
Okay.
And I mean, I didn't just come out of the gate knowing that. I mean, this took, I'm like halfway through year 16, know, and they've been changing it. I mean, I started when it was all CDs before those streaming, so it's been evolving, and I just try to do the best sounding master that's going to translate in both modes.
Right.
So if you do kind of abuse the limiter and make it too aggressive, you are going to be penalized.
Yeah.
If you're listening with the volume normalization enabled. If you're not, you can make it super loud. It's just you're running that risk of the audience might have that setting turned on. If it's off, you're, as long as you listen to it off, you're hearing exactly what the mastering engineer submitted. Mm-hmm. Now, it isn't a WAV file. It does get compressed some. Not all of the streaming, I mean, there's maybe a couple of streaming platforms that allow you to stream true uncompressed audio files, but a lot of them, Spotify, Apple included, they do convert the file into a lossless file or some sort of encoded, AAC format, or
right,
which is similar to an MP3 file. You are losing some ones and zeros.
yes.
There is a little less data in that digital file that you're hearing on Spotify.
Do you think the
But
average person could tell?
Yeah,
Average listener?
I mean, yeah. If you were able to do a controlled comparison,
I think so too.
And it's genre specific. I think for like a rock song that has a drum set with cymbals and electric guitars, I think you're gonna tell. If it's like an acoustic folk song, it's just like kind of warm sounding, right. I'm thinking of like a Gregory Alan Isakov kind of thing, or like an Avett Brothers song or something, like
right.
Maybe it would be like or folk, something folky. Maybe it would be hard. I don't know. It's hard to say. But yeah, I'm just, and I work on so much music. So my goal is just do the best I can with what I have, because each thing is its own unique thing. And so I just, use my ears, and I try, and knowing what I know about the streaming platforms, I try to be, competitive in those situations. Not everybody wants that. And that's another reason why I tell people, I try to get people to call me or let's talk about your project on the phone. Let's not just do this over email. Like, when's a good time? 2 p.m. on Wednesday? Call me. Right. And like, let's talk about, do you want to be super loud, or is it okay to not be the loudest thing out there?
Yeah. Right.
Not to like totally talk your ear off about this, but I mean, I could go forever about this. The other thing that I do is vinyl mastering.
Cool.
And so vinyl absolutely gets a different master. So, and I've maybe even said this on some other podcasts or shows, definitely on panels. But like so if anyone's heard this before, I've had bands that were like, "Hey Dan, what's your address? I want to send you a vinyl." And I'm like,
"No,
you guys are doing vinyl." Like, damn it. Because I don't know. I'm an audiophile. Like, I want it. Like I've said this. So like, I want it to translate as good as possible. And
but that digital file is not going to work.
Well, the digital file,
like the one that you did for Spotify, it's not going to work on the vinyl.
I don't recommend necessarily, and it's case by case. I mean, I know that sounds repetitive at this point, but like,
is it the low end? Is that the difference? Because it has to stay on the.
It's a lot of things.
Stylus.
It's the loudness. The high frequency, if there's like a lot of high frequency distortion, sibilance, the S's, that sound does not cut well to vinyl.
I see.
If you've got a bass synthesizer that's super stereo, pans left or right, or God forbid you have like an oscillating like whoa, 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 whoa kind of thing going on. Right. That's a nightmare for a cutting stylus. There's a lot of little like not little, I guess. There's a lot of considerations to take for vinyl, because you're working with a physical medium. You're not working with, just digital playback. And so I always, try to submit a high res as dynamic of a file as I can. So it's all, it's always a high res file when I have access to that as a source. And there are some vinyl considerations. If it's a slammed track or record, I'll probably back it off. It doesn't need to be peak limited as heavily.
Right. You're not competing with the other vinyls in the house.
Exactly.
Right.
And
you can't shuffle them that quickly.
Right. And well, if I am, and it's funny you said that, because I have had clients that are like, they want their 45 to compete with other 45s. And
wow,
if I submit something that's like super hot or loud, the person cutting the lacquer is going to have to back it off, because it's distorting their digital to analog converter, so they're going to turn it down. And so, just kind of like having, knowing that, I like to provide a different deliverable. It's also like there's a side A deliverable and a side B deliverable, and there's paperwork that goes with it. You can't just like send your 16-bit, CD masters to, you can, and people have.
Sure.
But it's not going to make for the best sounding vinyl, So that's, part of the service I provide is, navigating my clients through the finish line. And that's like, okay, we want it to sound good on Spotify. We want it to be competitive. We want our vinyl to sound good. All right, I'm going to create different deliverables for that. And
cool.
Here's the folder you send to DistroKid,
Right.
And here's the folder that you send to Memphis Record Pressing.
Yes.
Or Gotta Groove, or wherever you're going with it. And I'm just navigating.
I think they should be separate as well, because people ask us all the time, like, man, make vinyls for us. And I'm like, oh, that's like a whole, I would want to get all these songs remastered for this, because like, I don't know if people are not listening. Maybe they're just like want the physical thing and it's like on the wall, or it's like in their record collection. But if you're actually going to listen to the record, like, I want it to sound good. Like, I want it to sound really good. So I had to start over. And then knowing myself, I'd probably like make some remixing adjustments.
Yeah. You're like,
because I know way more than I knew 6 months ago.
Right. Trust me, I'm with you. I'm totally with you, and I'm here for it. Like, every song we've done, I can recall, and we can reprint at optimized for vinyl. Like, that's what I do. And I'm happy to provide that for you. And if I hear something that needs to be like addressed that would make it translate better, I'll tell you.
Let's go.
We do need to DS that more, because if I DS it, I'm gonna be killing the cymbals. Because the cymbals and the S of a vocal are in the same frequency range.
Right.
And I can't just solo the vocal and turn the cymbal instead. So, there's stuff like that, and it's important not to send the same file. Sometimes it works. Sometimes it's okay. But I would say almost 9 times out of 10, in my experience at least, it does need a slightly different approach for vinyl. And I ask those questions usually in advance too, when I start albums, like, is this just digital, or are you going to do vinyl? And it's, dude, what you were saying, it's expensive. Like, and I don't have an insurance policy for like, oh, the vinyl came back and it's, we got to do it all over again. Like, it has to be perfect. Perfect is close enough, right?
Right.
It needs to be, perfect going into to vinyl. I always ask people to listen to it 3 more times before you send it to vinyl, because if we miss something, God forbid, like you guys decided to change the sequence or something, like an obvious error. Like, oh, track 4 is now track 2, and track 2 is now track 5.
Yeah.
And not to like talk your ear off about this, but the sequence is super important when planning your vinyl disc. Like
right.
as you work, you put a
you only got
record
so
on.
much space.
Yeah, it plays from the outer bands in, right?
Yeah.
Like at the end of the record, the needle is closer to the middle, right?
Mm-hmm.
As you work in, the frequency response of the disc changes.
Oh my gosh.
Oh, dude, it is a whole thing. It is a full on process. Like
That's so crazy.
You need like someone to guide,
Wow. I would have never thought
bands
about that.
need to be guided through this. And it's like, put your bangers on the outer bands, because the big banging rock songs sound the best on the outer bands. As you work your way in, the disc starts to lose high end. It loses like 3 dB of high end once you get like 7 inches in.
Holy smokes.
That's
wow.
why when you listen to like a record from, the 70s or something, you always notice that the innermost song is always like an acoustic song. It's always like a ballad. It's never like Master of Puppets,
yes.
That is not the innermost song. There's no way Metallica would put that on the inner band. That shit is on the out, on the outside. So, those kinds of things are.
I'm gonna have to check that now on the records that I have.
You'll notice.
That is so interesting.
Yeah, it's pretty cool.
Yes, Good Times, Bad Times.
Well, I don't know how cool it is. But...
Open the album.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
That was the banger.
Exactly.
Very interesting. And here I am thinking, okay, probably Brown's song 4 is when you'd want to break it up from the bangers and do an acoustic thing, but it may have been just inside of the record.
I've talked bands into changing their sequence. I would never do this usually, but I have talked multiple bands and like, hey, I don't usually like do this, but because it's going on wax.
They probably never heard of that before.
They didn't know. And they're like, oh my God, that's so interesting. And like, thank you. And I'm like, no problem. It's going to make my job easier. It's going to make the lathe technician's job easier. It's going to press better. It's just going to make for a better sounding vinyl disc. They'll be able to cut it a little louder because they'll be able to utilize the land. They call it land in the vinyl world. And they're just like, let's make the grooves out here nice and full bandwidth. And as we go in, then we get to this little quiet, ballad, and we don't, we're not sacrificing. So
that's so interesting. So when
you'll notice that from now on, whenever you look at a vinyl record,
I'm gonna be looking at them.
Oh yeah, track 5 is like the quiet.
Yeah, it's the medieval acoustic guitar playing solo or whatever. It's Planet Caravan or something by Sabbath or something like that.
Yeah, exactly.
So tell me about, because when you started, you're in hybrid mode. Pro Tools is kind of like the fucking big new thing, right? Mm-hmm. But the world is still very much using the analog consoles and stuff. Mm-hmm. Like where are we now? Because I don't think that long ago, like maybe 7 years ago, I think most people still thought analog sounds better than the in the box digital world. But we've, in the 7 years, come a long way. You're seeing a lot of people. Who's it? Chad Blake that I follow on YouTube. He's like completely in the box. Andrew Sheps, I think, is mostly in the box, maybe a little bit hybrid. And these are like old school pro mixing guys, right?
Yeah.
So what do you work on? What do you prefer to work on as far as in the box versus analog?
Yeah, digital has come super far over the last decade. And I'm pretty much fully in the box now. There are some projects where I will take it into a big studio with analog gear, or maybe I get tapes,
Oh,
I get
okay.
tapes sometimes.
Cool.
And like, for me, I don't want to learn everything there is to know about analog tape and maintain multiple tape machines. And like, I mean, I don't know
Slow
if
you down
you've
a
had a look
bit.
at stuff,
Yeah.
but it's super expensive.
Yes.
So in order for me to keep my clients' costs down,
Yeah.
I and be indie friendly.
Yeah.
I work with just tons of indie bands and indie artists and indie producers. In order to provide the best service and keep their costs down and be affordable,
Yeah.
I am in the box.
Right.
I'm able to provide a faster service. The
Yeah.
sound quality is better than it's ever been for
Yeah.
working in digital, and it continues to improve and just totally blow me away.
Right.
It's still it all still comes back to serving the song,
Yeah.
and like, if it needs a real Soundtech EQ, if it needs a
Oh,
real
boy.
Ampex tape machine, who am I to deny them that?
Sure.
However, it's going to cost more.
Yes.
It's going to cost like
A lot
double.
more. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, it literally is like a 2x
Yeah.
on the invoice because we have to go buy some studio time. It's not the end of the world. It's just, if that's your art and that's what it needs, let's go do that. And that's why I'm based in New York. I can go work in any room. It's not free.
Yeah. Do you
It's
notice the
not.
big difference? Like, is that, say, for our band, for
Yeah.
instance, we're an indie rock band. It's pretty straightforward rock. Some of it's a little bit heavier,
Yeah.
but using what we use, like, I'm all in the box. Other than, I mean, even the instruments are DI going
Mm-hmm.
through, except for drums. Drums are recorded
Yep.
at Red Amp, but like us being like, hey, like, instead of putting the UAD Ampex tape on it or whatever it might be, hey, we're gonna put this on a reel reel to reel tape. I'm sure your ears will notice the sonic difference. I mean, is
Yeah.
it that much? Is digital losing that much of a vibe? I guess that's my question.
No, and like, the thing that I always go back to is like, the vibe is already in there. Like, the production has it in there,
Right.
and taking a track and just running it through an old reel to reel doesn't just, okay, voila, now it's vibing. Now it feels like Led
Now you're
Zeppelin
Led
now.
Zeppelin.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. Like, it's already there,
Right.
and the
That's
digital
awesome.
has caught up so much. And if anything, it's like we have more options. If anything, we're more suited. Like, we can try out more
Yes.
and at a fraction of the cost. Whereas, like, if we go, I was trying not to like say a specific name of some place, but if like we went into a studio and they have a tape machine, it's like,
That's the tape
okay,
machine.
we're using that tape machine, and that tape machine is kind of leaning to the right because like the machine hasn't been kept up as well
Right.
as maybe it should. There's like
And it's
all
the type
sorts
of
of
tape too, right? Isn't there like a
exactly.
bunch
There's
of
all sorts of
yeah.
real world issues.
Yes.
I mean, my guy Jake Fader is like my tape guy, and like, if I really have my way, we're sending the high res to Jake in Cleveland, Ohio,
Mm.
and letting him do the thing. Like, I don't want to do it,
Right.
personally. My services are better. I'm better serving my clients by, if we need that, let's hire somebody who knows what they're doing,
Right.
and let's send it to Jake, or whatever. Someone who has those options.
Yeah.
But if it's like left to our own devices, I don't want to invest that money. I
Yeah.
think most indie artists are not best served that way. If anything, they need to like record it to tape, and get it on the way in.
Right.
That's what I've found is the best. If it's like, if that's the sound, that's this band's sound. They need to do it on the way in, and they need to commit to that early, not wait until, all right, we're like on my little Apollo and like, well, yeah, that's a bad example because it would sound awesome, but like, you know what I mean? Like,
Yes.
waiting until the last minute and then just like putting an Instagram filter over the picture. Like,
Yes.
if the picture's like already, out of focus and all this stuff, like running it through a, black and white filter or like some sort of different filter or something is not going to just all of a sudden make the photograph awesome, and so
that's so true. It starts with the performance is like the main thing,
the song,
and then and now what microphone you're using, and then where that's traveling. Yeah, the arrangement,
the momentum of the mix. It's like the sum of all parts. And most artists that I work with, I'm not gonna take them down that path. I'm trying to guide my clients through the finish line, and like I've got all sorts of tape emulation. Like we can do all that. And that's included in working with me. But if there's like, hey, look, I really like, I don't even care what it sounds like, but I want to run it through the same tape machine that the Strokes used,
for the vibes.
All right, let's go. Yeah. Let's go into the Village and let's buy a couple hours and we'll run all the mixes through that machine, and we can do that. And if it doesn't sound great, like we still got to pay that invoice,
right?
And it's risky. Like the budgets don't. The real life of it is the budgets aren't there.
Yeah,
it's expensive. It's an expensive hobby.
Yes,
you know what I mean. And like we can totally get those aesthetics digitally now, and it makes me feel better knowing those guys you mentioned have endorsed the digital workspace because and it's not just that, it's like the quality is there, but also the service time. And people want to change stuff all the time, like, oh, we just decided to use a different vocal take or something. God forbid that happens. Let's say we did go into the East Village and rent a couple hours at that studio and run it through that tape machine. Then you decide like, actually, I don't want those tambourines. Like, Dan, that was a stupid idea. Those tambourines, like we got to mute those. Like, well, we got to go run it through again. You know what I mean? Like, it's just not.
It's slow. Yeah.
Economical,
it's totally slow.
Or realistic. But analog does sound great.
Yep.
It's just, it's not cheap. Right. And it's not some sort of like click it and it's great.
It's
now.
not the answer.
It's not.
It's not the answer people might be looking for.
It's super fun.
You mentioned tape emulations. Are there a couple that you like?
Yeah. I like the Mixhead.
Okay.
The Plugin Alliance Mixhead.
Oh, okay. No, I haven't seen it.
Yeah, it's a digital tape saturation.
That's cool.
Another great saturation plugin that a lot of people know about that's excellent is the Oxford Inflator.
Yes.
I mean, that's like
I just got one.
Yeah.
The first time. And I was like, oh, this is very interesting.
Okay, like when you tried it out for the first time, were you like, oh my God, I recognize this? Like, because when I heard it, I was like, oh no, like I knew about it for a long time.
Yeah.
And I just was like, I don't know, ignorant, I guess. And when I finally like started playing with it, I was like, this is on so much stuff because
No, I didn't notice that.
I listen to like so much music that I'm just like, and I know what every limiter sounds like, and I know,
wow.
you know what I'm saying? Like, I know what the Pro L2 sounds like. I know what the Ozone sounds like. I know what a Waves L2 sounds like. I know what all those limiters sound like.
That's interesting.
And dude, the Oxford Inflator was like a huge missing. It is so awesome. And yeah, I mean, I guess I just endorsed that on your show, which I'm happy. I don't
That's
mind.
Cool.
I talked to them before. I've gone up to them at NAMM and AES and been like, hey, I like to use it this way. And like, but I think like some big engineer uses it this other way because I watched a YouTube video or something, and they're like, "Oh, dude, like the way you're doing is a sick way to do it," you know, like. And there's no wrong, you know. It's just like what sounds good, but like,
what do you do differently with it?
Well, I just like I don't always put it in the same place, you know. I experiment with like. Is it going to be early in the signal chain? Is it going to be later in the signal chain? The inputs and outputs, I usually keep at 0. You know, I don't mess with the inputs and outputs, but I know that mixers like to drive it that way. And I just like to kind of, I'm more of like a transparent mastering approach. I don't like to interject a bunch of, unless it's called for. And so like, you know, I don't like necessarily want to add volume with it, you know. So I really just play with the inner the effect,
curve and the effect,
and the curve, and the curve. And if you go positive, it's a brighter, and if you go negative, it's a little darker or bassier, and but I mean, I do a different. Like I said, every time it's different.
Right, you know? Right. Actually, a couple good things to touch on right here is that like this isn't like a unique like boutique sort of plug-in. At least I don't think. I think I bought it for like $40 or something on sale.
It was on sale. Yeah, exactly.
And like I've seen that also with like CLA vocals and people saying like. And like it's just like some plugin. It's like 7 years old. It's like pretty cheap or whatever. And I'm seeing like top guys use this CLA vocals plugin. I forget who it was. He does. Oh, I forget this guy. It's a world famous. He's a songwriter. He's like written with everybody and whatever. And he's like, yeah, this is my vocal chain. He just like pops on CLA plugins and like one other couple other things, and that's like his vocal chain.
Like we're all using the same stuff.
Right. I think people are, and like myself included, I have a bad habit of like hunting for that like one particular thing that's going to totally vibe out my track, and I'm going to become Led Zeppelin overnight or whatever.
Right.
But it's you can get a lot done.
You're not alone. You're not alone in that. I promise you that.
You can get, if you have Logic and you fire it up, you can get a great song just using the stuff that's baked in to the program.
Yeah.
So it is, at the end of the day, is about, you know, totally it's about using your ears.
It's all about that. And it's
understanding that plugin, because I'll move to the next plugin without understanding even what I was working with. So like now I'm actually, and this is going to be a good segue, because I was like taking basically like a class on this damn Brainworks Neve plugin. So it was like from Plugin Alliance, because I got it and I said, man, I never worked on a freaking Neve console, and they built it to be exactly like the Neve console. I think there's one or two things they put in it in the digital world that wasn't in the analog world, just to make things easier. Added. But that being said, there are so much stuff online that I'm seeing. Like I go on these YouTube shorts and things, and so like I always do this, and I boost 2K, and then the other guy is saying like the exact opposite, and I know that we had talked about this previously, that you have a platform coming out that, from my understanding, is going to kind of help people like weed through all of the stuff that is
Yes.
online to help them make better decisions for their mixes and masters.
Yeah. I mean, and thank you for giving me this platform to talk about it. It's called Gain Stage Community. And I mean, it's just like I mean, if you look at my algorithm, it's like, that's all it is like audio people tips. And it's like,
Yes.
this guy's saying one thing and this guy's saying the exact opposite.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it just like there's a lot of noise.
Right.
There's a lot of people pushing like their software,
Yes.
like they're trying to sell plugins, and like that's all fair and good. But there's so much tutorials out there and just stuff on YouTube, and some of it's great, but there is a lot of not great stuff out there as well. And me and a few buddies of mine, we've created this platform. It's called Gain Stage, and it's a community where you can connect with a ton of other engineers, producers, musicians. Like if you're just starting out and just getting into this, or if you're like more seasoned, it doesn't matter. But we are basically presenting like a safe space. You know what I mean? Where like everyone is welcome, and you don't have to like know this certain amount of knowledge or whatever. And we're not going to like steer you in the wrong direction. And it like it's a good place to come and like get some actual advice.
Yeah.
And from people like me, where you're like, hey, I'm working on my own music and I'm sort of hit a wall here with my production, or like I don't, like I'm on YouTube and there's countless tutorials and I just like, this guy said one thing and this guy said, the other thing that without saying any names, there are a few platforms out there where it's like the Mount Rushmore of, I mean, you get to watch a video of like one of the GOATs mastering a song, and it's like the song already sounds awesome and he doesn't do anything. He's just like making it a dB louder. And it's like, cool. Like, let's see somebody master a song that doesn't sound awesome. Like, let's see somebody, you don't get access like that. Like we were talking about earlier, like not everybody can move to New York and start as an intern and like hope that 6 months after of cleaning the bathroom 6 days a week that they might get invited to the room to like peer over someone's shoulder and learn something. So we made Gain Stage Community, and you can come in and like watch me master a song using plugins that everyone has. Or watch Jim Stewart mix a song from start to finish. Cool. And he's not like using a bunch of esoteric stuff and like, and then it comes out of this expensive tape machine. And, it's accessible. It's accessible. And you can do it from anywhere. Like you could be from Gastonia, it doesn't matter where you're from because it's online. And so there's a course that we've finished, and it's literally this incredible songwriter, Jake Fader and Shayla Hope writing a song. You literally sit in the studio with them while they write a song, like starts with a little melody and a guitar riff. That's like cool. And I wasn't there, but I watched it and I was like, oh my God, this is incredible. There's nothing like this online where you're like, oh, the guy started with a little guitar riff and she started, and you're seeing them collaborating on like writing the song. Then the song is written, So like that's a whole, hour and a half long video that you can watch. And then the song gets sent to Nashville, where Lee Turner hires working musicians, gives them charts. Wow. They learn the song, like he hires like incredible session musicians and they record the song in Nashville. Then the song gets recorded and edited and sent to Jim Stewart in Cleveland, Ohio. He's an incredible mix engineer. And he's like, all right, here's the tracks. Like, I haven't heard the song, but like, let's get into it. And like, he plays the song. It's like, oh, cool. Like, there's the hook. This is the thing. This is the drawing, know, and he mixes the song and you literally watch the entire process. It's not just like, oh, that is hey, neat. Like here's how I automate the vocal and that's it. Like, it's the whole mix session. So you get to watch somebody mix the song. And then to finish out the course, they send the final mix to me. And I have not heard the song. I haven't even heard it, which is super realistic because when I work, I haven't heard it 1,000 times. Of course. So I'm assuming the viewer is like, well, they've heard it a bunch of times. And, but then I get my fresh perspective on it and I master in the box and like you can see all my settings and you can see me like I'm like trying out different limiters and like, okay, which limiter works best on this song? And like, how do I approach a song master? And and then I go in EQ and then I do some automation and I add some saturation, some width. And then it's like, oh, and this is the finishing touches. And here's how I automate the master. And so you just get all this, like, it's like you're sitting behind me in the studio. That was the idea, is like, how do we make it accessible for people who don't live in New York or Nashville? Right. And like work a 9 to 5 that are interested in this stuff. How do we give them access to this? And so, that's why we made it. But where the real value comes in my opinion, is the community part of it. Yeah. Because on the platform, like you sign in and there, it's like, this is your profile and you can network with people. You can like, you could totally sidebar privately with like, oh my God, there's this awesome guitar player in here. Yes. I need a guitar solo for my song. Like, you don't want me to play it, right? Right. So like, let's have him do it. And like, people are collaborating with each other and like interacting in ways that like you could never, I've never seen. And I don't think you're able to do that on some of the other platforms that are out there. Like, you might be able to watch some of those named engineers that you mentioned mix a Black Keys song or something. It's like, but like it was it was recorded in like the nicest studio in England and like on the nicest microphones. Like, here's some real, actual, like, this is how it's really done. And we're not gatekeeping or like smoke and mirrorsing this thing and like, oh, it's good. It's, you can watch a song be made from start to finish. And there's tons of other courses that are in the works as well. Like, we're doing one for sync, and publishing. Oh, that's very people are super interested in that. Yeah. And like, there's, it's, we're still, we're in the first year, but like, it's a really cool thing. It's a cool place for like people to connect. And
can people find it now?
Yeah, you can find it now. It's gainstagecommunity.com.
Okay. I'll make sure to link that.
Yeah, man. Thank you for letting me kind of pitch that.
Yeah. No, of course. Like, it sounds like this is what I like about it, man, is that it's going to help me sift through the nonsense that's going on YouTube. Because one thing I hate about YouTube is like, I'll hit this thing, like, I always like this compressor XYZ, I want to learn, and then it's like it's like a dance tune or something. like a boom,
Right.
boom, boom. And
Oh
I'm
yeah.
like,
It's not applicable.
I don't listen to stuff like that. I don't make music like that. And
Right.
I'll try this one. And then it's like
And then
something
it
like
recommends
crazy.
you.
Yeah.
And then it recommends you something because you happen to watch a video about,
Yes,
you know,
100%.
bass processing, and then all of a sudden you're getting like a bunch of recommendations, and then also like depending on your YouTube, you get like a commercial that just pops up in the middle,
Yeah.
and you're listening like intently, and then all of a sudden
That's right.
there's an ad for like Duke Power or something, and you're just like like you have to blow your ears out with this commercial that's super loud. I mean, there's tons of annoying things about that.
So I like that idea that I like the community idea. You got the videos that people can watch and learn a realistic approach. It sounds like mostly in real time. And
Yeah.
then also having the community, because it's actually what's missing, I think, from a lot of people's lives, is having some sort of community. I think it would be, I mean, I'm thinking the value to me, like, oh my gosh, to reach out and know and like have all these like guitar players or a singer or someone, like you can go on Fiverr and like sort of do some of this stuff, but like that's kind of like now this is sort of like baked in, and now you have a more of a closeness with these
Yeah.
people. And it's very cool that they can be in touch with everybody. Like, it reminds me of mixed martial arts in a way. When you train mixed martial arts, you can go to your local gym and train with like like a black belt,
Yeah.
right? And like,
Yeah.
if I go to play basketball on Saturday morning with my friends, there's not going to be any NBA players there.
Right.
You know what I mean?
I love
Like,
that analogy
like
too.
this
Like,
is like you're
know what you
showing up
mean.
and you're like, hey, dude, like I'm in touch with guys that are in the big leagues.
I'm rolling with a black belt, like,
Yes.
and like I might get tapped out, but I'm gonna learn something from it, right?
Yes.
And the other thing is, and some of these guys, we've been meeting up for years on Zoom, and it started kind of, right around the pandemic, and it was like, we work in isolation. I work in isolation a lot, and it doesn't have to be like that. Like,
Right.
it doesn't have to be isolating. I mean, the way I operate my mastering business, I encourage communication and phone calls or Zooms or whatever, just to like make it more personable.
Yeah.
I don't want to just open my email, read the email, download the file, master song, send them a link. I want to talk to them. I want to know where they're from and like what inspired this. And anyways, the isolation factor is just, it's brutal,
Right.
and this it connects people. So yeah, it really is like a special thing. And it's hard, it's immeasurable to like, it's just really cool. It's unique, and everyone in there is very kind, and like there's no dumb question. There's no like, the other thing that we do is like these live hangouts. So like
cool.
multiple times a month, it's like we just send the link out, and it is on Zoom, and it's like, and you get the link, and it's like, okay, not everybody can do every time, maybe you can't do what, but we record them and they all get uploaded. So like, if you missed one, or maybe you just can't come on a Tuesday night or whenever it ends up being, you could watch it the next day while you're at the gym, or you can listen to it on the drive to work or whatever. Like, it's on your time. It's all record. Everything we do is recorded, and there's libraries of these hangouts. Like, there's tons of them up there. I don't know how many there are, but there's tons of them up there that you can, the second you log in, you just immediately have access to that course that I was telling you about, the song finish or from start to the finished master, like you immediately get that. But you also have access to just library full of these hangouts, and it's like a podcast almost, like we're just talking about, whatever, like different topics, and like my perspective is different than Lee Turner's perspective. Not to, it's like this guy plays in Hootie and the Blowfish, like he's literally like on a tour bus with Darius Rucker, like, and he's like, guys, I got to run. Like, I got a sound check, it's like, cool. Cool. He's like the coolest guy. And there's there's tons of people like that, and everybody's doing their thing, and everybody is really, really doing this. And everybody is accessible. Like, you can ask questions and you can communicate with whoever you want. You can send a message to anybody. It doesn't have to be me. It could be whoever, and yeah, it's cool, man.
I think that's pretty neat. And so this is something you access on your computer and your phone, I'm assuming, or you can do either one. Okay.
Yeah, it's either way. And you just, when you log in, you just see there's libraries of previous, sessions or whatever episodes, and these lives that we do, and people can ask questions, and you get out of it whatever you want to get out of it, really.
Right.
But what you're not going to get out of it is like being led down some weird rabbit hole that's got like you're like, I don't know, the guy said to boost 2K and I'm boosting 2K and it doesn't sound good, like that kind of advice.
Yes,
we don't
do
because it doesn't work.
Yeah, I always boost 2K
because at the end of those videos, right, and at the end of those videos, they're usually like, and buy this plugin. And like, we're not selling plugins. We're not trying, I'm not in the software development business, and I'm very skeptical of those types of that type of content.
Yes. It's actually something I wasn't really like hip to. And then I started to like figure it out after a while, watching certain people on YouTube, because they're like, this is going to save your mix. And then you like realize you're like, halfway through, you're like, am I just watching a commercial?
Yeah.
Exactly. Like I like being like put on to new ideas and new plugins and all that stuff. But like, I don't know how to put it. Like there's this weird like gray area between like, you're giving me info, but like, can I just get this done on the Logic compressor that comes with my
you could do it with the Ozone. Yeah, you could do it with the Ozone EQ. You could do all of the concepts we're talking. You could use the deverb. Stock. Yeah, stock. All the stuff is like all the concepts are transferable, and I mean that's for me it all comes back to serving the song.
Yeah.
And that's what we talk about. And like, no one teaches arrangement. Like, no one teaches like, how do we get the song to naturally build this momentum?
Right.
People aren't talking about that stuff. It's like,
oh yeah. Even from a songwriting perspective, I remember the first time I was recording with Jody Boyd at Red Amp. Very young, 23 or so. We were the first time in the studio, and I'm playing guitar chords like the normal, whatever the G, or the guitar player is playing the G chord, like normal strumming on a lower G chord, and I'm playing the keys, same G chord. And he goes, "Hey, like one of you guys should go up high, one of you guys should go down low." And I was like, "Huh, I never thought about it that way." And like I just didn't even think about it. And now like I'm like, oh yeah, well if someone's down here, like I can't be on top of them, because then all of our frequencies are colliding. You probably can't hear either very well. And then you got the vocal probably jammed into the same spot. So
it's a huge lesson
yeah.
in production, arrangement, voicing, chord voicing, and there are like virtuoso musicians out in there that, you know, those kinds of tips you almost have to be in the studio with Jody Boyd at Red Amp in Richmond, Virginia, and hire him to learn something. Like, I mean, that's an invaluable thing you learned, right?
Yes.
And like, that's why I went to New York. Like, you're just not gonna learn those things on YouTube. And I don't want to sound like, you know, boomery or anything, but like, because there is a lot of good information
100%.
online. It's just like, not who's curating it, you know, like who's guiding you, like, hey, like fast forward to the 16-minute mark and just watch from 16 minutes and 22 seconds to 17 minutes and 30 seconds, and then turn this video off, because the first 16 minutes, you don't need any of that. And everything after that, you don't need that either. And like, it doesn't even apply to you at all for what you're, you know, our combined experience is like,
oh my gosh.
You know, we've got, you know, multiple I mean, I've only worked on one Grammy winner, but there are like, you know, if you put everyone together, it's like pretty impressive, honestly, like what everybody has accomplished. And like, I love that you're going to be a member. And, you know, everyone in there is very special. And like, we've been meeting up, like I said, for years, and we're like, we should just build this thing and like invite people, you know, and it's cool. It's really cool.
I think it's a really cool idea. I'm excited to get in and check it out and see it and talk to people and everything. There's one more thing I want to ask you before we get off.
Hit me.
Dude, like we've run long.
We've run long. I appreciate you. No, don't apologize. Thank you for having me. And this is awesome.
No, it's a blast. There are unique things that just knowing someone, or there's just like, if you get a few gold nuggets out of somebody, it can literally just change your musical life. Another one from Jody was have the different parts of the song, like you have to think of the verse differently than the chorus. Like there needs to be a different drum beat. Like, okay, now we're on the bridge. Like, why don't you make it like, oh, you're playing the minor 2 to the 5. Like, what if you guys did the kind of like a funk thing there? Even though it's not like a funk song, but like kind of make it a little funky. And then so that your song is sort of like showing up in a different way as it unfolds. You're introducing a new instrument. All of that stuff is just like, that's when you graduate to the next level, I think. And you're not that band where you're at the live concert and you're an hour in as an audience member and go, is this the same song? Have they been playing the same song for an hour now?
Dude, actually, before you, if I may share one that's really cool, and this is super specific, and I think a lot of your members know this song, and I'm a huge fan of this track. I don't know when it came out. I think in the 90s, but you remember the Wallflowers?
Yes.
So they had that huge hit, One Headlight, right?
Awesome song.
And like, I only know this because we just talked about it recently, and it's like T-Bone Burnett, I'm pretty sure, produced it. But and like the drum sounds so damn good on that song. Like if you go back and listen to that maybe after this or something, or maybe everybody's gonna go listen to it after this, but like One Headlight is such a smash hit. That's awesome. I've heard that song like thousands of times, like just walking through the mall or at the community pool or whatever. Just such a big song on the radio. I never noticed this, but that song, the drummer never smashes a cymbal. Like he like plays like a you gotta do. Like usually you go you gotta do. right?
Yeah.
Like if I don't drum, but if I was a drummer and I knew that the little downbeat was like a gotta do, I would definitely smash a cymbal after that.
Smash it. Yeah.
Dude, I've never noticed this until somebody recently just told me. Never once does he smash the cymbal.
Very
ever
interesting.
in that song. And we were talking about it, and it's like, why? Because it doesn't fit.
Right.
It does not fit in that song. Like the vocal is like he's like singing like really, it's kind of like a timid singing. Like you wouldn't be able to hear him singing if the guy's back there just like psh, 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 psh.
Right.
Like, and it doesn't build the thing anymore. Like the song, it doesn't serve that song. So the guy's like, you gotta do.
Right.
Like he never smashes the cymbal, and like that blew my mind. I was like,
you don't notice it when you listen to it.
I love the song more now.
Sure.
It's like it's cooler now than it was before. I never realized that, and like those kinds of little tips, you're just like, I don't know, man. I don't think people are like analyzing it maybe that deep, but that kind of stuff I'm obsessed with learning about. And like, it's so just cool. And like, maybe that's going to inspire someone on here who's watching, like
to try it.
Hey, like, I didn't even think that there was another way. Like for me personally, I'm not a drummer, but I just imagine like, I need to like play on the ride cymbal in the chorus. Cause like it's the chorus.
Point. Yeah.
Like that's what everybody does. Right. It just, yeah, man. It's
now you bring that up. You know how I've noticed that has that same style? Levon Helm.
Oh.
If you listen to the band records, he does the and then back to the hi-hat.
Yeah, and he's not
he's rarely hitting the cymbals with the kick on the big moments. Which I always thought was so funky. I was like, why is he doing that? But he just like dances along. I just love Levon Helm, man.
Oh, I'm a huge fan.
The voice and the drumming.
Huge fan.
Incredible.
Legendary, yeah. One of the GOATs.
I wanted to ask you a particular question. This is a bit of a selfish question because this has to do with mixing. And this is what I've been focused on lately. The digital gain staging to get your mix, like, I guess, in the highest quality or whatever.
Sure.
Is there like, basically what I've seen online is like, okay, well, like you've got your all your recorded tracks, like make sure that there's no plugins on them. You put your level meter on each track and you're trying to see, is your vocal between like, I don't know, 10 and 14 or whatever. There's like markers basically before you start to kind of, ideally you're in those levels and then you bring your plugins in and ideally you're not clipping any of those channels. Like gain staging in the digital world, like that concept, I guess, is kind of like new to me. I actually never even paid attention to any of the individual levels at all. Is that a big deal? Sure. Should people be keeping their music to a certain level on each track?
Sure. And there's a lot of content we could cover there. And it's like, to answer your question, gain staging as a concept is like, okay, output gets connected to another input. Output of that gets connected to an input of the next thing. It's like your signal is passing from one thing to the next thing. It's always coming out of an output. It's always getting fed into an input. And like some devices, analog or digital, doesn't actually matter. They all respond differently. Mm-hmm. So clipping an input on something might be destructive.
Yeah.
So like if your goal is to have like a pristine, like if you take a Steely Dan record from the early 80s that are just like beyond just absolute mastery, I'm pretty sure no one was clipping anything in
No.
their signal flow, right? Like, I'm pretty sure that it was all like really textbook gain staging, right?
Right.
So the output is not clipping an input. And like, if it was, probably gets turned down a little, then it gets fed to the next thing, and
Yes.
if the compressor's then adding a bunch of gain to it, then it needs to get to an EQ. Okay, well, then they're probably going to turn down the output of the compressor a little to not clip the input of the EQ. Then it comes out of the EQ, and then you go to the next thing, like, whatever.
Right.
I'm just making up hypothetical signal flow here. But the idea is to not distort the input of whatever the device is that you're feeding, right? And it's just like, typically I would just imagine most people are not intentionally clipping the inputs, right? And so, but today, the way the style of music and the way music has evolved and people's tastes change, clipping is like, I mean, go on YouTube and just type in clipping. Like,
that's true.
There is whole like mountains of content out there about clipping. Clipping sounds awesome on certain things. Yeah. I mean, there are clippers out there that you can clip the Oxford Inflator, like we were just talking about. Right. Like, you can clip anything. True peak limiting is optional on most limiters. So like, if you're using true peak limiting, if that's turned on, the signal is not going to exceed whatever your output ceiling is set to. Right. But if you turn off true peak limiting, it actually, depending on the source, can clip. And that actually might sound better than with true peak turned on. So like, I would actually encourage people to toggle it on and off and decide for themselves based on whatever the song they're working on. Like, actually, it sounds better with true peak turned off on this song. Or maybe it sounds better with it turned on. From a mixing perspective, you have so many signal, if you have 16 tracks for your song, or maybe you have 120 tracks, right? There is limited, bandwidth. The speaker can only put out so much, and so generally that's like where the concept of gain staging comes from, is like feeding the signal through the signal path and not not clipping the inputs of whatever the processing that you're using. So it's not taboo anymore. Like, people clip all the time. I clip masters, like I commonly will have my final master I'll send to the client that they're going to send to iTunes, and it's clipping because I can, and it sounds good, it works. So, that's kind of where the concept comes from. But like, in reality, the practicality of it is like, you can do it, and it doesn't always sound bad. But if you're talking about like starting a mix from scratch, I would say that, your instincts are correct in wanting to be careful about that. Especially on rock songs where you're going to have distortion on a guitar. You already have that. You already have some saturation maybe from running the mix through like the Neve or something, hypothetically. So it probably isn't going to serve you early in the mix to be like clipping the, the crap out of everything, and giving yourself that headroom by, turning stuff down. I'll give you another free little tip for everybody watching this. You can start a mix however you want. Like, there is no right or wrong necessary way. You're just trying to get the emotional impact of the song across, right? And build momentum and like have the mix take you somewhere and like transport you, right?
Mm-hmm.
Let me open your vision to another way. Like, I know mixers, you've probably done a mix like this where you're like, okay, I mean, I know a mixer specifically, I don't want to put him on the spot, but it's like he always starts with the bass, or maybe he always starts with the kick drum, or he always starts with the groove. Maybe it's just like, okay, the kick and the snare, like nothing, everything else is muted, right? That's one way that I think a lot of people maybe are
I've seen
aware
it a lot.
of. It's
Drum
like,
set first, basically. They go through the
tons
whole
of
drum
people
set.
do that. Tons of people do that. But what about if you started a mix with everything muted but the vocal? You just mix the vocal first. Like, the vocal is the most important thing in most songs.
Yeah.
Right? Have you ever started a mix by just soloing or muting everything, and you're just like, you start with her vocal and that's it and nothing else, and you're just like, I'm going to put her vocal here. I'm going to put a reverb that I like on it, or put some saturation on it, or a delay throw or whatever. Like, I'm starting with the vocal and nothing else. And then you're going to unmute the guitars. And then we're going to unmute the bass. And then we're going to unmute now that's one way. What about if you just start with the high frequency stuff and work your way down to the low frequency stuff? There's mixers. There's mixers out there that are incredible that mix frequency like that, where they start with the.
Never thought of that.
What's the first thing? Let's say you're mixing a trap song or something.
Yeah.
And so the first thing you're unmuting is just the hi-hats.
The hi-hat, yeah.
You're just like, I'm soloing the hi-hat, and that's the first thing that you're hearing is, what is the highest frequency thing? Maybe the hi-hats. And then you're like, okay, what comes on after that? Like, there's a synth. Yeah. Then maybe there's a vocal. Then maybe the snare drum gets unmuted. Then you're working your way down. And the absolute last thing that you're bringing into the sound path is the bass.
Right.
The bass takes up so much space.
It does.
It occupies the most space. And like, it's natural for people to start, in ways that are comfortable, or if they've seen maybe the person they are used to watching work starts that way. Like, that makes a lot of sense to me. And I definitely started tons of mixes like that when I used to mix. But like, that concept, if I was going to start mixing today, I might be kind of turned on by that. Like, starting with the vocal, or starting with the background vocals, like just placing the background vocals, and you don't hear anything but the background vocals. And then you unmute the lead vocal, and then you let the hi-hats in, and then you let the guitars in. And then the last thing you're putting in the mix is the kick drum and the bass, or the 808. That's the last thing you're doing, because the vocal is so important in most genres.
Yeah.
And like, you don't want it to be too loud, but you don't want it to be too soft. And it's like such a touchy thing. I mean,
it is.
I know you've spent countless hours like perfecting where a vocal goes.
Yeah.
Why not try starting with that and building the mix around that? And just like, okay, and now we're going to bring the bass in, because a lot of people, I mean, going back to what's a thing that I hear a lot that's like a struggle in mixing, especially in like indie music, is like, the bass is too loud. Like, they clearly started with the bass, and it was always too loud, and like they're trying to get the vocal up to, sit up over everything, and they just can't, because there's no room for it. Like, the way it's gain staged is stuff's, if I turn the vocal up anymore, the mix is now clipping. Well, what about if you would have just started with the vocal to begin with, and like, then you just kind of slide the bass up underneath, there's no like wrong approach or anything, but it's just like those kinds of concepts where you're like, I would have never thought to start with the hi-hats. Like, who does that?
Never thought about
literally, who would do that? No one. Or just start the mix.
The overheads.
With the overheads or whatever. Like,
it's crazy.
You can do that.
I like it. I think it's very cool.
Yeah, man, there's so many ways. And, I say this, I don't mix records, but like I listen to a lot of mixes. I talk to a lot of mixers. Everyone has their own way. Yeah. And like, you find your thing, and that's your, and maybe that thing only works on that song. Right. You know what I mean? Like, maybe the next song you mix, that might not be the right way. Like, maybe you do need to start with the kick drum. If it's just a doom, 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 maybe the song is built on that. That's the groove. And like, that's the most important thing in the song. Then I think you should start with that. But it's just cool to like get open to those kinds of like different approaches and different like.
I've never thought about that.
Like
very interesting.
Kind of cool to like start a mix that way.
That is, it's super unique. Yeah, I mean,
I don't know if that like answered the question about the gain staging, but I just wanted to share that. Like,
yeah, no, I appreciate it. I've noticed with the gain staging is basically like if there's something wrong with the mix, or like if I'm really working on the vocal and trying to get it in its right place, and then I check the level, and I'm like, oh, it's just fucking smashed already. Like that, because I'm trying to EQ it. I'm trying to like move the guitars around it. I'm like, what's wrong? And I go back to, okay, well, what level is this actually at? And I'm like, oh, it's just like clipping. And that's why I can't EQ that out.
Totally. And that all comes back to analog concepts. If you are working just in the analog domain and you're just like, I only work on an SSL and that's that, like, you can't just be clipping everything. Like you have to gain stage it proper. There is a finesse. There is a sweet spot that you hit with a Neve. There is a sweet spot that you hit with a SSL. There are sweet spots that working on one all the time, you're going to learn what those are. And by exceeding it, you're like, oh, my snare is distorted, or my vocal is distorted. You have to gain stage it properly, or maybe you capture it in a certain level and then you compress it some because the singer is all over the place dynamically. Yes. And that, okay, well then we need to introduce a compressor into the signal path.
Right.
But I can't slam the compressor because it's distorting or it's triggering the compression too quickly. Maybe I don't want it to compress that much all the time. I only want it to compress when she's screaming. Like you got to set the threshold properly to do that. And you have to set the ratio properly to do that. And you have to set the attack slow enough to let the transient through, but fast enough to catch what, what I'm saying? Like everything is moving, like constantly maneuvering, and it's like, that's an analog concept, and all the digital audio stuff is pretty much, based on those concepts. Right. You can clip stuff digitally. It's just, it's more forgiving for sure. Yeah. But no, your instinct is totally correct. Generally speaking, it isn't great to just be clipping it on the way in. And that's why we have, preamp has a gain knob on it, and if the singer's really loud, you can turn it down a little and feed it through the chain and start it at a nice, like you mentioned, like -6 or -12 or whatever. Like there is a sweet spot on those consoles, and that's the,
because I know
that's
some
the
of
idea.
some of the plugins are made to react like the vintage analog consoles. So like you do want to drive, like Ampex Tape Machine, from my understanding, like you do want to drive the needle a little bit towards zero.
That's how you
like
get that
0,
character.
1. Because if it's I guess gain staged incorrectly, you're really not getting that juice out of the machine.
Exactly. And like some mixers like to start with all of their faders at 0 and like do their gain staging prior to that and use that headroom that way. Some mixers like to turn all their faders all the way down and just start raising stuff as neat. Like, there's a lot of approaches and a lot of different ways.
It's a very cool art form in that way. Because you're online and you're looking for the one thing that you can do every time. And it just really doesn't work that way.
No, it doesn't. And there's no one size. I mean, it's truly the opposite of one size fits all. And that's why I always say that phrase, serve the song. Yeah. It's like, that worked on the, blah, blah, blah record, but that was that. And this is this. And, apples and oranges are, bowling balls and
yeah, that's right.
Whatever. It's like all different. And you have to trust your ears and your musical instincts and build your repetition. You got to get that first 10,000 hours. Everybody's heard that. Yep. And it's like, all right, cool. I don't know which 10,000 I'm on, but I heard someone say recently, like a career is like 80,000.
Yeah.
Like the typical career, like you go to school and then you like start your whatever it is you do. And like, then you retire when you're in your 60s or something. That's like 80,000 hours. Like you can get really good at something over the span of a career. So you just got to get those reps in and find out what works and experiment. And like, maybe we just start with the shaker,
shaker first.
The tambourine. Yeah. The tambourine is like, we built the whole mix around the tambourine, it's just,
I like that.
Yeah, man. It's music. At the end of the day, it's art. And like, it's supposed to be fun.
Yes, it is. It is.
It's supposed to be.
It's supposed to be fun.
It's supposed to be.
Well, Dan, I really appreciate you coming on. Thank you so much. You're our first guest, dude. This was a great episode.
I hope I set the bar.
Yes, man. You totally set the bar. We didn't get into AI, but we'll get into AI next time. Or we'll chat about it at another time.
Yeah, let's run it back. Like we can run it back or something. Like
I think that would be
I'll try to learn more. I'll try to learn more about it so that we can talk about it.
Hell yeah. Let's go.
Sweet.
Well, where and I'll put all the links in, but we have the Gain Stage community, and then where can people get in touch with you?
Yeah, I mean just danmillice.com or millicemastering.com. They all go to my website or I have an Instagram. It's just Dan Millice.
I thought it was Dr. Millice.
I changed it, dude. I changed it. Yeah, I changed it because actually I'll share this. There is a like very famous mastering engineer. I found this out way after I started Dr. Millice when I was like in high school. And like way before I even started mastering, I was like, I'm going to be Dr. Millice because my initials are Daniel Robert Millice.
Oh, okay.
Like D.R. Millice or whatever. And so I did Dr. Millice. Then I like get into the music world and there is a super famous mastering engineer and his screen name is Dr. Midrange. So if you start to spell DOCTORMI, like you're finding that guy right away. You're like, oh my God, this guy's a legend. Like, this Billie Eilish. And he's like amazing mastering engineer. Huge. I highly admire this person. But I didn't want it to seem like I was like treading on his thing or whatever, like just out of respect. And I was like, let me just not make it hard for people to find me. Like, it's not an AOL screen name, it's like, so I just changed it to Dan Millice, but some people some people still call me that, but yeah, danmillice@gmail.com. That's my email address. Or
Cool.
like, yeah, I appreciate you like, putting my thing out there, man. Like, I really appreciate it.
We can't be afraid as creative people to
you
tell
have
people
to put
where
yourself,
where they can find us, and extend if you want to work with me, then this is where you find me, because there's people that do.
yeah,
And they're
yeah,
looking
man.
for a little bit of help maybe with their mastering, or they want to join a cool community, or like one of the biggest benefits of having a mastering engineer, in my opinion, other than the quality of work that you get back, is knowing that your vocal is 1 dB hot on the second verse.
Yeah.
Or, hey dude, you compress the crap out of this thing, or like whatever that feedback, because you're sitting here alone by yourself for 1,000 hours trying to get the mix right. Then you go in your car and it sounds bad, and then you bring it back and then it sounds good in the car, and you're like, okay, this is great. And you send it to Dan, and you're either gonna get a thumbs up, or you're gonna get a couple tweaks, or whatever it might be, and then it's just such a relief. So
it's that perspective, it's that perspective, and it takes a lot of work to get it to where you're ready to get it mastered. And so like by the time you get there, you just heard it so many times.
Like, can this just be done? Yeah.
Yeah. Like, I don't know. Is the vocal too loud? I don't know. Is my song good? Like,
right.
I don't even know. Like, yeah, I'll tell you. I'll tell you, man. No, I love you guys. And like, I'm a huge fan. I'm a huge Burn the Breeze fan. I'm beyond honored that, you guys trust me with your stuff.
Oh yeah.
And
thanks, man.
I can't wait to do the next one,
Let's go. Sweet.
Yeah, man.
Well, thank you so much. I appreciate it. I'm going to add all the links below so everyone can check you out. And great first podcast. So we'll see you guys on the next one.
Thanks, man.
Peace.